got to start with the headliner. Obviously, I'm wearing the Dan Campbell shirt because this is Dan Campbell's week. It's finally over. And I got to say, I believed in this team from the beginning. From the beginning of the season, I said they were going to win 12 games, said they were going to win the division, and I thought they could win the home playoff game. They won that game not because of Jared Goff throwing for 1,000 yards. They didn't do it because Matthew Stafford threw 5 interceptions. They didn't do it because the refs gave them a bunch of really good calls. They did that because the Detroit Lions were the better team than the Los Angeles Rams. Full stop. They were the better team. The whole game, they were in control. They did not have the Rams never had the lead the whole game. It was always the Rams playing catch-up to the point where the Lions scored just 3 points in the second half, and that was all they needed. That was the difference. Is Michael Badgley kicking a 55-yard field goal, which I don't think anybody had on their bingo card. And that was it. That was it. Because this Lions team is not just, finesse. It's not just Stafford to Calvin. It's not just, we'll hand it off to Barry. He'll probably bail us out. It's a team. It's top to bottom. Pieces on both sides of the football. On defense, you got Hutchinson, you got Jack Campbell, you got Anzalone, you got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you got Iffy. On offense, obviously, you got David Montgomery, you got Jared Goff, you got Jameson Williams, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Sam Laporta, you got Jahmyr Gibbs, you got everybody, and everybody's getting involved. Did anybody have Josh Reynolds catching for 80 yards on 4 or 5 catches? I thought Josh Reynolds was going to have a good game because I knew it would be a revenge game for him as much as it is for Jared Goff. I didn't think he was going to get 80 catches. I was rooting for him to get a touchdown because I knew it was like he wanted that. He wanted that badly. He didn't end up getting a touchdown. No, only one receiving touchdown. That was to Sam Laporta, who we didn't even know if he was going to play. And he comes in, he gets a touchdown. That you don't get that touchdown, you probably don't win the game. I mean, you minus the points, you don't win the game. But there's so much to talk about here because you look at the offense. On the first half, it was great. Second half, not so great. But then on the defense, first half, not so great. Second half, a little bit better. You get some stops. And I want to see, what was the team possession here? The Rams had the ball for just a little bit longer. It was basically split. But both teams never turned the ball over. One of the differences, Lions had 23 first downs to 22 of the Rams. So both teams were pretty evenly matched. Both teams had good defenses. And the Rams, again, and it's one of those things, you got to give credit to Aaron Glenn because they give up 425 total yards, but just 23 points. No touchdowns in the second half. Only 2 touchdowns in the second quarter. No other quarter had a touchdown other than the second quarter. And both of those touchdowns were on deep ball plays. They were outside of the red zone. So it was finesse. It was those kind of big plays that, you risk giving those up, but if you get in the red zone, you're settling for a field goal or you're getting a turnover on downs. It's just, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. And you sack Stafford twice. You sack Stafford twice, quote unquote. The first one, Stafford trips on, his shoelaces, and Hutchinson touches him down. And the second one, he's running and he gets tackled behind the line of scrimmage, which is technically a sack, but it's not the same thing, right? Like when you imagine a sack, that's not what you're thinking. But I just want to it's hard to describe, and I'm sort of at a loss for words as far as breaking this game down because it's not like, winning against the Chiefs week 1, right? Where you kind of look back at that game and it's like, okay, yeah, the Chiefs are kind of on an off year. Yeah, you did it on the road. Yeah, first game of the season, everybody's watching. This Lions team is, I believe, like 6-1 or 5-1 in primetime games. And that's, all eyes on deck, Thursday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, what have you. Like, they show up in a way that Lions teams of the past never did. The other thing I wanted to point out about this game is it had the makings of the kind of game the Lions would lose, right? Like, it had Matthew Stafford. It had Jared Goff a little slow in the second half. It had not a lot of scoring second half. It had defensive woes. It had Sean McVay, the boy genius, up against Dan Campbell, the brute. Like, it was one of those things where you're just like, oh my gosh, the narrative writes itself. same old Lions is going to come back. And it didn't. It just didn't. It was like every point where you thought, oh boy, here we go. They just overcame it. Whether it was the bad offsides call or it was, the giant touchdown you give up to Tutu Atwell or the giant touchdown you give up to Puka Nacua, it was like they just went down the field or they just took command of that game in one way or the other, and they managed to win. And now I remember what I was talking about. I was going to talk about Dan Campbell and how when he was hired, it was this, the Lions, they're just switching over. They go from smart genius head coach in Patricia, now genius, very liberally used, to this brute players coach, rah-rah guy, but no real strength. And, well, clearly those people were completely wrong. Dan Campbell is not only a rah-rah coach, he's also a damn smart coach. If it wasn't for his gambling, if it wasn't for him just going for it on 4th and 1 and getting the touchdown to Laporta, probably don't win the game. If it wasn't for his passing on 2nd down with 2 minutes to go and picking up the 1st down with Amon-Ra St. Brown, we might not have won the game, right? If that play doesn't work, if he doesn't call that play up, if we run the ball and we don't get it, and then now we're in 3rd and short or what have you, it's just there was a myriad of things that just have gone right with this team. And, one of the things that I think I want to emphasize to fellow Lions fans is, and I know it's difficult, it's a little bit of act like you've been there. Like you have to realize this is just what it's like to be an NFL team at this point. I mean, the Browns have done it. The Texans have done it. The expansion Ravens did it. The Colts did it. The Saints did it. I can go down the list. The Rams just did it. I can go down the list of teams that have been down bad for decades or down bad for most of their franchise history, right? And they're used to this sort of thing. I was like, oh yeah, you went on wild card weekend. Wait, great. We did that a couple of years ago. But for us Lions fans, I literally have not experienced it. I hadn't experienced a home playoff game, let alone a playoff game win. And what's funny is that the only playoff wins the Lions now have in their franchise history are both at home. 1992, 91, that was in the Silverdome, which no longer exists. And now we have the playoff win in Ford Field. And we'll have another chance to get number 2. Like, that's the thing. It's like, some weak-kneed Lions fans might say, well, I'm glad that we got that one win, but, that's all we need. It's like, no. Now we have a chance. We're going up against the Bucs. We have home field advantage. We already beat this team earlier in the season. And it wasn't an easy win, but it was on the road. We had no running game. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs were out. They're both going to be back. You have a more active Sam Laporta. You have Jameson Williams more comfortable in this system. You're gonna you're not gonna be running the ball with Craig Reynolds. You're gonna be running it with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And you got a defense that's better. You're gonna have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who's only gonna get better and better as the games go. You might even have James Houston back next week, God willing. I'm not saying it's not going to be an easy game. And we'll preview it near the end of the show. It's not going to be an easy game. And I know some Lions fans want it to be an easy game. They know the Bucs are the 4 seed going in. They won that really weak division. But Baker Mayfield's looking for something to prove. And he won a playoff game with the Browns, and then he lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round as well. You know that as bad as we want it, he wants it even that much, at least that much. It's not going to be easy. And their defense is legit too. It's going to be tough to score on them. The Rams defense was not that good, and we scored just 24 points on them in a playoff game. The offense has got to be better if they want to win this game this upcoming Sunday. And like I said, and I was talking about it even before. I said that, look, the Buccaneers are red hot right now. They've been winning games, and it's not always been good looking. They beat the Carolina Panthers without scoring a touchdown. It's not always been pretty, but it's not going to be a walk in the park because they don't have to score a bunch of points because their defense is just that good. So Jared Goff and this offense, they've got to be ready to go. And I don't doubt that they will be because they know they have an opportunity here to do something that has not been done since 91, which is make an NFC championship game. And we don't know if we're going to host it at that point. You're going to have to wait to see the Packers-Niners result. But there's a possibility that we could host the NFC championship game. it's not a 0% chance possibility, right? It's not like if the Cowboys would have won, right? Then it would be a true zero. But yeah, I think it's probably going to be closer because it's going to be a playoff game. But at the same time, again, like Lions are a better team than they were when they played the first time. No, to be fair, so are the Buccaneers. But I saw that game on yesterday, and I was noticing a lot of the same things that were happening when they played us, which is Baker Mayfield missing guys, wide receivers not on the same page as Baker Mayfield, throwing too deep, throwing too short, what have you. They were struggling offensively in that first half. It wasn't until like the late game when they started to really run away with it. So I don't think this is going to be some easy game. I don't think this is going to be some blowout. But I do. Well, we'll get into it. I think the Lions are going to win. I'll just say it there. We'll get into the predictions at the end of the show. But yeah, at least as of right now, you can take these first couple of days, probably until Thursday or Friday, before you really start to look ahead. Right now, Lions fans, myself included, enjoy this because playoff wins aren't free, and that win this past Sunday, that certainly wasn't free. I personally lost some years of my life watching that game. And Armenian, you're in the chat. You know. I probably lost some years of my life watching that game, but it was worth it. And it's again, you beat your old quarterback. That is the kind of thing that doesn't happen. I mean, I'm not old enough to really remember, but Joey Harrington on Thanksgiving playing for the Miami Dolphins played the game of his life. That's the kind of thing that Lions fans are going accustomed to. Meanwhile, Matthew Stafford throws for 367 yards and loses the game. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card. They certainly didn't have Michael Badgley having the game-winning kick on their bingo card. But, man, this Lions team, successful season, I'd say, but job's not finished. Now you're on to Tampa Bay. See what you got. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.